everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Vivianoseni as always, and on this channel I talk about everything nursing, lifestyle, motherhood, hair, beauty and everything in between. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to join the family. Thank you for coming back. Today we're going to be talking about everything moving house, renting an apartment in the UK. If you're a registered nurse, I know one of the things you're thinking in your heart is, how am I going to rent an apartment? Are they going to get me an apartment that is big enough for my family and all that? Well, I'm here to give you all the little bits you need to know. So let's get right into this video. Okay, so recently you all know I moved an apartment. So previously when I came into the UK, I was given a one-bedded apartment by my employer. And this is not actually ideal, but in respect to the cost, it's very ideal for me and my family then. But then we grew, and besides, the law about rent in the UK did not allow us to stay in a one-bedded apartment. And so my employer said we had to move to a two-bedded apartment. And we moved to a two-bedded apartment. These two apartments were flats. So we didn't have any gardens. We just enclosed with the children. Children could play out and all that. Well, the family has grown and we needed space. We needed the children to be able to enjoy the sun when it was summer. So we started looking for an apartment. And I searched for the apartment for close to 6 months. The apartment where I live presently was on the market and then went off the market and came back on the market before finally it got into our hands, which we're grateful. Getting an apartment could be a daunting thing for anybody coming into the UK, but then knowing your way around it and knowing what you need to do is really going to help you. So as an overseas nurse coming to the UK, first off, your employer is going to provide you with an apartment or accommodation. That's why most of the packages given to overseas nurses includes accommodation. I'm going to explain why. When you come to the UK to rent an apartment, you have to have a proof of address, which has to be a bank statement or a tenancy agreement. Now, as a new overseas nurse, you don't have any of those things. Even if you're to set up your bank account, that's going to take like a week. And then where are you going to stay for that week? Stay in hotels? That's going to be pretty expensive. And even for you to get the apartment and get a tenancy agreement that you need for opening the account, agents letting you the house also want a proof of address. So it's all like that. Where do you get a proof of address when you don't have any place you're living? So that's why your employer provides you with the accommodation in the first place. So except you have families or friends who you are hoping to live with when you come to the UK to save costs, which is a good idea, by the way, your employer has to provide you this accommodation. It could be single apartments, which is why most employers encourage overseas nurses to come in first, and then when they come into the country and pass their OSCEs, they can save up money and rent a bigger apartment and bring in their family. But then you can take the stress off yourself and tell your employer that you're coming with your family, and your employer now has that job to get you a comfortable, at least two-bedded apartment for you and your family. So go ahead and come on with your family. For you to get an apartment in the UK, first you have to have a right to rent, which is basically your BRP, your biometric resident permit. It has to be valid and you have the right to live in the UK. Once you have a right to live in the UK through your biometric resident permit, then you have the right to rent in the UK. Secondly, you need a proof of income. You have to prove that you're earning a good wage that is able to cover your rent for the year, and at least you have change 2 times your rent in annual earnings. And you also have to have reference from a place of work who are willing to reference you. In addition to this, you need your proof of identity or your identity card, which can be your international passport or your resident permit. Anyone who lives in the UK for more than 6 months should have the right to rent. and there's a law that governs renting in the UK. Is a right to rent. It's a laborious document, guides agents, landlords and renters, and protects them from exploitations from agents and landlords, and also empowers the renters not to be exploited in the cost and the running of the apartments where they rent. When you come to the UK, like I said earlier, your employer needs to provide you an accommodation because, one, you don't have a proof of ID, which can be in the form of three things: bank statement or your water bills or council tax. So because you can't provide these things to your letting agents, your employer has to provide you the accommodation you need when you come into the UK first time. Subsequently, after you've lived in the UK for a few months, you should have been able to gather these things. And here is my tip for you when you get into a rented apartment given to you by your employer. Can you kindly tell your employer that you want to pay your council tax by yourself and you want to pay your utility bills? This, I mean your water bills and your electricity or gas bills by yourself. That way you get the needed proof of address that you need to show when you do things with the UK government. Also, when you've lived in your hospital or employer accommodation, you already have earned a salary by the first month or the second month, and that means automatically that you have opened a bank account. Now, opening the bank account in the UK first time is usually with the help of your employer, who gives you a covering note, a letter stating that you work in their organization and that the bank should help open an account for you. And then the bank goes ahead to open an account for you in the UK. Without the letter from your employer, no bank is going to open an account for you in the UK. And you have to do this within the first 6 months of getting to the UK. So if you come into the UK with your spouse, I advise you to tell your employer to give you a covering note for your spouse so that the bank also can open the account for your spouse within the same time, at about the time you open your own account. That way, your spouse also has a proof of address, and also will help him or her when they go ahead searching for a job in the UK. If they're not able to open their account within 6 months of entering the UK, open your spouse's account about the same time you open your account with the help of your employer. Now, when you want to rent in the UK, start by searching websites in the UK. I advise you to read the right to rent documents or law in the UK and get yourself together of the terms and conditions in there. And every agent has the obligation to ensure that renting is equitable and there is no discrimination by race, sex, persons, children, whatever. You should not be discriminated against when you're trying to rent an apartment in the UK. That being said, a lot of agents can be indicted to have shown some level of discrimination, but they do this codedly. For instance, an agent, you've searched for a house and they tell you, the landlord says they don't want children up in their flats. So where should children live? Okay, you get an apartment that is big enough and the landlord says they don't want children. Is that not a form of discrimination? And if you feel that you are being discriminated upon, well, I just advise you look for another agent, look for another house and move on, because obviously you don't have the time or the energy to sue the agents or the landlord that they have discriminated against you. But if you've gone into an agreement and suddenly they go back on their words, then you should be able to take up a court action against them because they have discriminated against you and not giving you the apartment to rent. You need to look for apartment. You have the right to move. Right to Move is a website that generally has all apartments that are on the market for rent or for sale in the UK. You have onthemarket.com, you have Zoopla.com, you have Pigeon, There are loads of websites there, but Right to Move is usually very good. So you go there, put in your postcode and or the area you want to search for a house. So if you know where your hospital is, you can actually put in the postcode of your hospital and look for apartments that are around your hospital and begin to search for apartments in those areas. Now, my tip for moving or choosing where your house or your apartment is located is: one, make it close to your workplace, so you have to save costs on transport. So make it close to your children's school. If you're one who with children, make it close to your children's school, so that way you have ease of going to pick up your children from school. And if you can make it close to the town center, so that you can easily dash into town and back. Above all, make the houses to be close in proximity to amenities. Otherwise, you then have to take buses out to town or take buses to work, which is going to increase your expenditure over time. So when you're searching for an apartment, when you're about to leave your employer given apartment or employer rented apartment, I advise that you choose houses that are close to school, close to your place of work, and close to town. Now, when moving in the UK, you should know that if you have children, you're not allowed to live in a flat, because flats are closely knitted together and they believe that your children are going to be noisy. You can't live in a flat, you can't live in a shared apartment. Shared apartments, I mean, it can be a 3-bedroom flat and you have 3 adults living in there who share the living room, which is a living sitting room, and the kitchen, and sometimes share toilets, or most times share toilets. If you live with children or you're married, you may not be allowed to live in a shared apartment. So you have to be looking for either a single bedded bedroom or a double bed, depending on the number of persons in your family. Most agents, once they know you have children, will definitely ask you the number of children you have. They ask you if you're living alone or you're living with your family and children, and they ask you the number of children you have, and that will determine if they're going to rent out an apartment to you. For instance, you have 1 child, they can be happy to give you a 2-bedroom. For instance, you have 2 children, they may give you a 2-bedroom, but once you begin to have 3 children, they begin to tell you that you need a 3-bedroom house. Now, well, it's not up to them, but they believe that it's not comfortable for you. Sometimes they say even in a 3-bedroom house, the maximum occupants should be 5. So now you understand what I'm saying. But in the long run, still search for apartments where you have also gardens and you have parking space. With children, especially for family persons, always look for an apartment that has a garden, preferably an artificial garden, so you don't have to mow or lawn the garden every time. And then look for somewhere that has a garage or a parking space, because one, you don't want to start paying for parking when you own a car for your family, and so you need space to store things like the garage, and 3, you need your parking space for your car. You don't want to be paying to park your car, and you need a garden for the children to play, because children need a space, even if most of the time in winter they have to stay indoors. But then when the summer comes or when the sun comes, you need that garden for play and for outdoor activities. So when you're choosing a house in the UK, I advise that you compare the cost of these houses. Averagely, the cost of a 1-bedroom apartment ranges from £350 to £550, depending on the size and the location of the apartment. We have studio flats that can range from £350, and you have single bedroom flats that can range from £550 to £750. An apartment come either furnished or unfurnished. Most likely apartments from your employer will come as furnished, but most apartments that you are going to rent by yourself come unfurnished. There you have to furnish those houses by yourself to your taste. I also have a single bedroom that costs as high as £600 and £700, but on the average it's within £350 and £550, like I said, depending on the location. In London, in places like London, you can have single bedroom flats that go as high as £800 or even £1,000. But then you also have two-bedded apartments that range from within £550 to £750 or £800. And you have three-bedded apartments that range within £700 to £1,000. And you have four bedrooms that are always within the range of £900 to £1,200. But like I said, it's all dependent on the location. In places like London, apartments that you could get for £1,200 elsewhere could go as high as £1,800. We all understand that London is a high expense area, and so accommodation is also expensive in London. Depending on where you choose to stay, go on Zoopla, go on Right to Move, go on the market. I advise you that you search in numerous websites, because most of the times some apartments don't come up in some websites, or they come up after they have stayed on a particular website for 1 week. So it's good that you're searching on different websites. That way you're able to pick up good houses when they come out exclusively on particular websites. So search vastly, put on notifications for the kind of house you want on those websites. That way the website or Google notifies you when these apartments are on the market. Like my present apartment, when it came on the market the second time, it was through a notification. So I just called the agent directly that, oh, this apartment that I viewed in the last 3 months is back on the market and I'm interested in it. So I didn't have to go and view the house again, and I got the apartment. See the kind of house you want that fits the specifications that you want and within the price range that you want. The first thing you want to do is to call the agent and book a viewing as soon as possible, because most agents do it on a first come first serve basis, and others will gather all the applicants or those who are interested in the apartment first off, and then give you all the viewing and give the landlord the opportunity to choose whoever he prefers to live in their apartment. So you view the apartment, look at the apartment. If it's something that you like, you tell the agent you're interested in this apartment and you want to go ahead with renting this apartment. Most agents will give you a pre-application form and ask you to fill a couple of questions, and they ask you everything. Trust me, it can be annoying. You ask your name, your age, your spouses, your partner, how many people are living in the apartment. So if you have people who are above the age of 18, which is usually yourself or your partner, or yourself or your spouse, usually both of you will have to apply for the apartment. There's going to be a credit check, reference of your earnings and your employment, and if you have lived in a previous apartment like your hospital apartment or employer apartment, there's going to be a reference from them also that you are a worthy tenant. So when you tell the agent you are willing and want to rent these apartments, you fill the application form and send it up to them. And if you're lucky to be chosen, if it is the case where the landlord chooses who he wants, which to me is really unfair, because it brings in the place of discrimination where the landlord begins to choose who he wants to come to the apartment. But what I say is, well, it's the landlord's house. He chooses what he wants. That's their business. Whatever is mine is going to come to me, okay? But other agents are very fair. Once you see the house first time and you're interested and you're able to pay the deposit fee, the house goes off the market. Those are the kind of letting agents that I call fair. But those who have to wait for everybody to view the house and then let the landlord choose, I think they have a whole lot of discrimination going on in their choosing process, which is very, very unfair and unkind.